Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Talkers podcast. My name is Ashton Haugen. I am joined, as always, by the lovely Tessa Livingston.
Ahoy, hoy.
And our wonderful producer, Jordan from NZ Audio Editors. And we don't have Deanna today because she is on vacation. But we do have a very special guest who we've been trying to get on the podcast for a while now because we love her so much. I hope everyone enjoys the fabulous, wonderful Megan Urbano. Hi, Megan.
Hi.
We're going to talk a lot about Megan. She's a really good friend of some of us on the podcast and just an awesome human being all around. But she's also an opera singer, a voice actor herself, and she does speech and language pathology, which we're going to be talking a little bit about today. So before we get into that, though, anybody have some chit-chat that they want to share with the group? We listen and we don't judge.
Yeah, no, you know what? I have had... from 2 episodes ago, I had a thing that I was going to tell everybody, and you know what? I can't remember what it was.
Great.
This is great chit chat.
Great, this is great chit chat. I'm so sorry. I had a thing, and I genuinely can't remember.
You built it up too. There's a lot of hype around it. Yeah.
I was so nervous about not knowing what to say, and Tessa's making me feel much better already.
I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased I can welcome you in quite a... This happens a lot, though. I go to say something, and then I start, and then I go, oh, shit, I don't know what comes after that. I do have some good news, though, which is very exciting. So I did a job last year for VO, and it paid out quite well. It had some good usage. It was awesome. And they've just decided to roll, which is great. But they've quadrupled the price because it's rolling in other countries as well. So
congratulations.
We love this. Thank you very much. So I found that out not too long ago, which is great. Being on the other end of the big mouth email is always really exciting for that sort of thing because I get to find out my own information first. Sometimes my boss Sarah will be like, oh, I've got some great news for you. I'm like,
I know.
Email. I know. So that was my scripted chit chat. I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is just yet. It's nothing like too major, but it's still under NDA. But very exciting to have something roll. Always cool as a VO, being like, did no extra work and got paid more for it.
Yes, that's our favorite thing in the world, that rollover money.
It's the dream.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. What do you mean by like roll? It rolls. Does that mean it goes to another country? Or
no, that is a good.
Does that mean,
question,
it means they
Jordan.
run it again the next year or something. And you make the same money again unless it goes to another country.
Quadruple in this.
Or quadruple it. So it depends. So a rollover simply means that they're going to buy it again, but depending on what they buy again changes the amount that you get paid. So it could be like a 6-month lease or a 2-year lease. It could be just going to radio. It could be radio and TV. They could update and change things. So the rollover just means that it's going to be going again, and then the usage and rates are determined after that.
But usually you don't have to re-record
Good question,
anything.
Jordan.
Like they're just going to use the same thing over again, but they have to pay you to continue to use it. Yeah.
So good.
Oh, it's wicked. It's so cool. I didn't have to do anything.
I love that. I also love when they use, this has not happened to me before, but I know other people it's happened to, when they use the audition in the final spot.
Yes. Yeah. So good.
So good.
So good.
That's a goal. One day I want that to be
that
me,
is-
to use
that
the
is me.
audition in the final spot, and then you don't have to do anything else.
I've never had that happen, but a job I did just recently was for a car commercial when they asked it, and I went and I did it, and it was great. That was fine. And then I came out and I got home, and then we got an email from the producer being like, the client wants it to sound more Disney. Did I tell you guys about this already? Yeah, so it was a car commercial and they wanted it to sound more Disney. I lost the plot. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what does that mean? So confused. And then I did some takes for them in my home booth and sent them through to see if they needed me to re-record again with direction. And the last one that I did, I was like, how can I be as Disney as possible, as whimsical? And like, to me, I did it. And I was like, I sound like the most condescending fuck on the planet. This sounds horrible. That's the one they
That's
used.
the one they love.
I love it. Sometimes you put it to music and you just...
And like, the way it's all the way up here. And I was like, what is happening in the world?
Hey, it worked. If it works, it works.
So fun.
Um,
It works. But yeah,
well, that
much
was
fun.
great chit chat. Congratulations on all the cash, Tessa. But let's move on
Thank you.
and find out a little bit
Love that
more
for you.
about Megan. So, I ripped this right from your website, Megan, but I'm going to say it anyway. Megan
I saw that in the notes and I was like, yes.
Megan is passionate about
Great.
all things voice. She is a classically trained opera singer with a contemporary crossover training and a voice with contemporary crossover training, voice specialized speech language pathologist, and voice actor. She's literally all those things. And she has combined the science of how we create sound with the nuance of performance training to create a dynamic array of sung and spoken voices that are healthily supported. What a great little intro.
Oh,
I love it.
Dang,
what
I
an
forgot that I
intro.
wrote that. That was actually pretty good. Pat on my back for that one. I probably spent hours trying to be like, "Oh, does this sound good? Is this enough adjectives?"
For the
I put it on
SEO,
the
yes,
website.
yes, it is. It's great. We asked Megan
Yeah.
on the podcast today, not just because she's wonderful and we want you all to know who she is, but because we would like her to help us debunk some myths about voice and vocal health. But before we do that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how we all met because Megan, you're awesome, and I think we could relive that for a second. So I think how long have we known each other, Megan? For like
Oh
4
gosh, I think
years?
4
Yeah,
years, 3 or 4
something
years.
like that.
Yeah,
Um, it
I
could be
think
3
3 years.
years.
3 years.
I
That makes
forget.
sense.
But we
Oh,
were introduced,
time
you
flies
know,
when you're having fun.
we were introduced
Yeah.
through Tessa. Actually, I think Tessa sent me your info initially, but I don't know how you two met.
I'm gonna debunk all of this, team. Did
No.
none of you remember how we
I
met?
remember how we met. Can I say how we met?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
am I
can, because
right?
Ashton's wrong.
Yeah, actually is wrong, but that's okay. I don't take offense.
Okay, yes, correct
No,
me,
I
please.
was yes,
Or
no,
have I
it's
got it
okay. I
wrong?
think I'd started taking no, this actually before I started taking voice acting lessons, you guys were the first ad I ever saw.
Oh.
And it was for the class that you two taught
It's the
together.
class that we taught, voiceover for beginners, Ashton. So it's way back when you and I had only
When I
known
was
each
running
other a
those
couple of months.
Instagram ads.
Yes, when you were
Correct.
running the Instagram ads. And I think I had
Yeah.
actually found Tessa first because you had more of
Yeah.
like an SLP page at the
Yes.
time, and I followed like anything voice SLP related.
Yeah.
And then I saw your guys' post and I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. It sounds really interesting. And I actually signed up for your class and then didn't go.
That's right.
Um,
Okay.
but I swear I wasn't for anything like me. I think I was
Right.
like really sick. Oh no, I was traveling. Actually, I do remember because I was like,
I remember you messaging me and apologizing, being like, because you were in your car while
yeah, I
the
was
the
literally
thing
like
was happening. Yeah.
driving like across like the country. I think I was moving or something like that.
Yeah, you
I was
you
like,
weren't moving to Tampa. You were like, because that was later down the
yeah,
track.
I may have been moving to
Yeah.
LA
Yeah,
at the
you were.
time.
You
I
must have
think you
been.
were.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
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 And so then I messaged you and I was like, I'm so sorry. Don't hate me. Cause I was like, these guys are so cool. And I just been like Instagram stalking you. And I'm just like, I really want to get into this. And like, I hope it's okay. I like didn't want to burn any bridges. And then, yeah, you guys sent me the video. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. And you had talked about like training and getting into classes and whatnot. And so then
Mm.
I think I maybe reached out to Ashton.
You did.
No, I
You
reached out to Tessa.
No,
Yeah.
you reached out to me
Okay,
first
so
because
maybe I don't
the
remember.
speech.
Can you tell your story?
No, I honestly don't think you guys should be allowed to tell this. I know all the details. Every time one of you say something, I'm like, that's not quite right.
I'm getting married this year, and if anybody asks me like how we met, I hope I know my story of that.
Yeah, please get that under your belt. Yikes. Yeah, no, you messaged me first because we had the speech path connection.
Yeah.
And then through talking to me, then you ended up
That's
reaching out
what
to
it
Ashton to do
was.
some training.
Yeah. But then we
Yeah.
messaged each other like on Instagram. Like I don't think that we had like talked face to face.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Tessa and I. Yeah, we hadn't talked face to face. We were just
Hmm.
like chit-chatting about things. And I was like, oh, you know what? I think, oh, sorry, Ashton, I love you. But I think I asked Tessa to be my voice teacher first.
Yeah.
And
And
you
I
were
would have said no.
yeah, and you said no. She like didn't want to teach me. I was like,
I
okay,
think that's what it was.
fine,
And then you
whatever.
sent her to me saying,
Well, it's-
oh, she's looking for someone to help her.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll do it.
It was because it was more for like voice acting, and I was like, I don't know how to teach that. I only just learnt you have to be an actor to be a good voiceover artist. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Don't ask me.
I think it was your email.
Literally
That
just
was like
figured it out.
email like for the thing for the class, and so that's probably how I reached out. But then I got to meet both of you, and you're both so
Oh.
wonderful. And so Yes, and then here we
And
are.
now we've had lots of good times. Just like Megan and I have got some very, very fun voice notes. Do you remember me sending you one about a person who was trying to make a voice, and I like voice noted you for ages, being like, they kind of sound like this, but then they sound like this, and this is what I think I want to do. Like those voice notes are a donk.
Oh, yeah, Tessa
So
and I don't text each other. We just send voice
no,
messages, voice memos back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I
They're
heard this
always, like,
voice today. What do you think?
ridiculously long. Like, I'm like, "Okay, I have to
And you
sit."
kind of like
Like, I could just call you.
you could. It doesn't ever happen though.
Yeah.
So just like
Okay.
voice note that's like 3 minutes
Time
long, and
change
at the
all
end
the
you're like, sorry, I'm just gonna recap on what I just said so that it's easy for you to remember.
Isn't the voice note is
Sorry.
like a
That's true.
podcast
We
in
do stuff right.
itself? Like you listen to it.
I mean,
Exactly.
essentially, we could probably take all those, throw 'em in.
Okay. So this is how we met. Megan came to our class and then reached out to me, and then I denied access to my content
And
and
I
sent it
said,
to
sure, I'll give that to anybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, and then I did help Coach Megan very initially in her career, and it was wonderful. She's a great student, a fantastic voice actor. If you're looking to hire a voice actor, I would highly recommend Megan. She's fantastic. But
Woo.
also
She's also another
she
big
is.
mouth ripper.
I am.
She's a
Okay,
big
so
mouth.
actually, um, we had to, like, start a little bit later than we expected to because I got, like, 4 hours of sleep last night, which I told Ashton, and the reason was because Big Mouth sent me an audition that I didn't see until, like, 1 AM, like, right before
Ah,
I was about to go to sleep, and I was like, "I literally cannot record this right now. I'm in bed. I'm gonna have to wake up at, like, 5 in the morning to, like, leave myself time," and I still slept in until, like, 6:30, and I was like, "Shit." I'm like, "Alright,
rough
I got 2
road.
hours." Like, I still had 2 hours to do this beforehand, but I was like, "Wow, like, this feels like a real voice
Oh,
acting moment."
it is.
Me, like,
Well, like
trying to
you
get
messaged
the
me.
audition done, like, no time at
Yeah.
all.
I remember you messaging me like that day, and it was like 6 p.m. my time. I was like, bro, go to bed. It's like 2 in the morning where you are.
Yeah, that
The
happens.
day,
That
like,
that,
go to
that
bed.
happened.
I
Yeah.
am the same. I got a an audition from Big Mouth before, and I was like talking about it because I was like talking to my boyfriend, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna do this for this audition that I got, and I was like thinking about it, and then he's like, when is that audition due? And I was like, oh crap, it's like due right now. I need to go do it. And he like reminded me that I had the audition that I needed to go do it instead of just think about it. Yeah. Oh boy. So yes, we're all repped by Big Mouth. Very, very excited. And but another great thing about Megan is that you are a speech and language pathologist. And you started that journey before you started your voiceover journey, correct?
Yeah, yeah. That was, a very well, only a few years before, but I was a singer way before
Okay.
that. Like, I was a singer since I was a
Okay.
little kid, and then kinda went through the whole, singing in choirs throughout high school, and then I went to school for music, and then at the end, I was gonna take a year off and, like, audition for a master's program in opera specifically, once I felt like I had gotten the rep enough and I was, like, ready to audition. But in the meantime, I did a speech pathology post-bac degree, and I just
Mm.
loved it. I was like, "This is so much fun," and to be honest, the singing world wow, hold on, give me a second, guys. I'm
I was
so
just about to
let me
say, like,
no,
talking about like vocal health
I
and
know, and here I
singing and
am
math, and I'm
drinking I
listening
have
to
a
you being
Fanta
like,
and a water in front of me, listen, this is not the best.
I'm like, bruv, that constriction is just getting
It's
meatier and meatier.
rough.
What is happening?
Do what I say, not what I do. Isn't that the same?
Yeah, I'm exactly the
Yeah,
same. Exactly the
yeah.
same.
So anyway, I, like God, fuck, this is the ADHD. I, like, lose my train of thought. Jordan's got this.
This is so great. Team, if you tuned into the episode before, Ashton was talking about this for herself with all of her hobbies,
The
where she referred to
ADHD,
her
you know.
having the ADHD.
The ADHD, a thing.
I
We
got
sometimes
I
just call
got
it
the
a thing.
ADHD. So Megan is now experiencing
You were
the
talking
same issues.
about
Yeah, yeah.
Has it come back
doing
to you?
speech pathology, getting your post-bac degree, and finding and really loving it.
Oh, yeah, and I just realized oh, yeah, because music school was really draining,
Mm.
unfortunately. It
Mm.
especially being in the classical music world, you have to be so perfect all the time, right? It's like the perfect notes and rhythms and the language they have to learn, right? It's like German, Italian, French, and then English. That was easy enough. But and then you're performing in front of classmates and your teacher and your faculty, and there were so many big diva personalities in it
Mm.
that I felt like I just needed some time to reset
Mm,
because I didn't like singing
mm.
anymore. And I'd been singing since I was a baby. Like my parents said that I was humming along to songs, like trying to sing along to songs even before I could speak.
Wow.
And then I just lost my love for it. And it was really depressing, to be honest. But then I fell in love with speech pathology. And through that, started going through school for that, started re-picking back up singing on the side. And then once I got to my fellowship, which was in Los Angeles, I was started working with voice actors, like, as clients, as
Mm.
patients, and I was like, "Oh, shit, I don't know how to treat this population." Like, I'd spent so much
Mm.
time learning, like, normal voices and singing voices, but, like, voice acting voices, like, all the growls and high-pitched and the screaming, it was so out of my depth that I took a voice acting class for the first time, and then I fell in love with that, and I was like, "This is the best because there's just so much
Yeah.
freedom in it, right? Like, you just have so much fun, and you're behind closed doors, and you can be weird and funny and goofy, and, like, whatever you want to be without anybody looking at you, and you can do as many takes as you want to do, and just yeah, and just have fun with it." So, I fell in love with it immediately, but I wanted to do it as a kid too. Like, I used to speak along to the radio and, like, copy whatever ad was on the radio when I was a kid, and I kept saying, like,
Mm.
"Ooh, I think I would be good at this. Like, I think I would be good at narration. I think I would be good at that," and then I just never pursued it until a few years ago, and I'm really happy I did because honestly, this is the best creative community I've
Honestly,
ever been a
though,
part of.
seriously,
Yeah.
that's facts right there. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like people just send each other jobs all the time. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I saw this posting. I think it would be great for your voice." You know? Versus, like, in the
Yeah.
singing world, it's like you just, like, don't even talk. Like, sometimes people don't even talk about where they're auditioning
Oh,
because
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's very,
other
like,
people might be
gatekeep.
auditioning here
Yeah.
too, and it's like you don't really wanna, "Oh, what are you singing?" Or like, "What" you just, like, keep it completely on the down low.
It's much
Yep.
more competitive, hey, in quite a, like, aggressive kind of way. That was
Yeah.
sort of the interpretation that I had with singing culture, is that you just had to be quite quite like cards to your chest with what you knew how to do and like
Mhm.
so that you had more of a competitive edge, which is crazy because VO's not like that at all. I don't
Yeah.
yeah.
think. Well, it's not what I've
And it could
experienced
be.
anyway.
It could easily become that. You know what I mean? But it's just not. I don't know why
Mm.
the people in voiceover are just so cool. I mean, maybe it's because we're in voiceover, but the people
I think it's just because 'cause we're cool is
You're
a
here.
No, but, like, you know what I mean? Everyone is just
yeah,
genuine
I
and
do.
authentic and kind, and if they don't get it if, like, I didn't get the job, but Megan did, I would be stoked for her. You know what I mean? And we send each other
Mhm.
jobs. I've sent Megan jobs before. We've talked about this on the podcast. We all send each other work, but that's not unusual in
Mhm.
the voiceover world. It's it's not
Yeah, just a
yeah, we've
community
talked
of
about
people.
on this podcast how we all send each other jobs, but even in like the larger scope of voiceover, that's normal.
Yeah.
Um and very
Mhm.
cool. A very, very cool part of our community. I love this place. This is
Mm.
awesome. Um
So do I.
yeah.
I have a question because Megan, you said fellowship. So
Oh, yeah.
not lots of people will know quite what that means. So could you tell us what the fellowship is and then what it is like? So like your job title as a speech language pathologist, because lots of people don't know that being a speech pathologist doesn't mean that you work with kids that have lisps or
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So can you tell us what the fellowship was and then define what it is that your job is as a speech pathologist and the type of people that you would work with?
Oh my gosh, yes. So essentially, when you're a speech pathologist, you go through your undergrad degree, you go through a master's degree, and then you have to do a year of what's called a fellowship, which is essentially kind of like a doctor's residency for the most part.
It's like specializing, hey.
Yeah, you're specializing, but you're also kind
Yeah.
of on the job training in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have to do that. And speech pathology actually has so many different facets and niches within it. So exactly right. Like most people think about like the kids and maybe like autism spectrum disorder or developmental
Yeah.
delays or lisps and articulation, that type of thing.
Strokes
But
strokes is another big one that people
strokes is
think
a
that,
big one. Yeah. So I
yeah,
think like
yeah.
head to lungs is kind of our scope of practice.
Yeah.
So anything in the brain that relates to how we actually create language, how we actually, send the signals to make words and put together sentences and convey ideas. So like you said, with strokes, sometimes that can change, traumatic
Yeah.
brain injuries, that type of thing. So you have a lot of SLPs, speech language pathologists, working in acute care settings in hospitals. Um,
Mm.
you have dysphagia, which is the very fancy word for swallowing problems. And then
Yeah.
dysphonia, which is the fancy medical word for voice problems or
Mhm.
hoarseness, which is what I do. So I specialized in my fellowship at a voice and upper airway clinic. So I treat people who have problems with their vocal folds, who have things like nodules, like polyps, like cysts, which I can like get into a little bit more, but essentially like issues on that muscle that is the vocal fold and the tissue that surrounds that muscle. Um, and so it was really fun being in LA because at the clinic where I worked at USC Voice Center, we saw so many singers, we saw so many voice actors, whether they were like beginner, intermediate, like professional level. So I got to see all of that. And now I'm in Tampa, Florida at USF Voice Center. I guess I just like the University Southern thing, like wherever I go. Um, and essentially, I do the same thing there. I work less with singers now just because of the population. I'm in Florida, so
Mm.
they tend to be older,
Or more
but
like occupational health
a
voice
little more
concerns, right?
occupational health. I work with a
So
lot
like
of,
teachers, lawyers, that sort of thing.
actually, I work with a lot of, like, business people.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah, yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. There's, like, a lot of, businesses being in, like, a no income tax state.
Oh.
Um So people who are, like, presenting a lot in conferences, calling clients, that type of thing, typically working with. So it's really fun because I get to take everything that I loved as, like, a singer, which for me is, like, I'm always that person who asks, like, "Why?" or, like, "How does that work?" Like, I always just, like,
Mm.
need to get to the root of something, and so speech pathology was the way to do that and, like, open the door to not only understand, but to help other people, which I think is really special and really fun.
I love that. I
I love it. I love hearing about speech path stuff because I haven't been in it for yonks. Like it's been so far removed from me, but like when it comes to career, it's really enhanced what I do. And I'm going to steal Ashton's next question because I can see I can see it on the list, and I've already started doing it. So
Okay.
Ashton, I'll
Yeah,
host
sure.
this little moment if you don't mind. Um, so inside your speech pathology career, what is the thing that you felt like has really helped you like launch into your VO career? How have those things crossed over, and what things have really aided you?
Oh, yeah. So I always say that voice is dynamic, right? And when people come to me as a patient, I am never going to put their voice in a box
Mm,
because there is no one perfect voice. That just doesn't exist, right? And for every single person, you don't have the same voice even in a single
yeah.
day, right? Sometimes like you're really excited about something and you're like, can't wait to tell your best friend. Or sometimes you're just like really tired and like you don't want to talk to anyone and like you have a headache, And
Mm,
I like tell it to my patients, right? So I help them build a healthier voice and make choices for their voice depending on what they're doing in that day. Maybe that choice is for, okay, those CEOs, those company leaders who have the presentations. And so we're working on that more, you know, um, confident presentational type voice. Or maybe it's someone who like has a bunch of kids running around and like at home and they have like a busy home life. They're a stay-at-home mom and they're like can't project to tell their kids to like not run into the street. And so we're gonna work on like healthy projection. And it's really
nice.
whatever is functional for the patient in front of me and breaking that down. And so I think that's what has helped me with voice acting is realizing like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, we're not in a box. Like there's so many things that the voice can do. Um, and unlocking that is so much fun.
Mm.
Um, yeah, do you ever, like, consider
So I'm just
yourself
putting my
your own
computer on.
patient? This is a weird question. That's not on the thing, so I'm just, like, throwing this out there. But, like, do you ever, like, diagnose yourself or,
I
do you ever, like,
love
be
this
like, "Oh, like,
question.
what's this? I
I
Yeah.
know what this is about me." Like, do you ever self-diagnose your stuff? I don't know.
yes, literally all the time.
All the time.
I also panic
I still do it.
whenever I, like, wake up and my voice isn't quite right. I'm like, "Oh my god, what's wrong with me? I have inflammation on my vocal folds." I'm so
Honestly,
dramatic.
are you the same? Like, I can fix other people's vocal issues. Can I fix my own? No, I'm
Oh,
ruined.
hell
I'm broken.
no.
Mine doesn't work. I think it's a thing for people in our kind of bracket because we know so much about it. and then we have like a day where it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. You're like, oh, I'm terrible. I can't. Voice is dynamic. Some days you wake up and it's not as good, and other days. But you're like, no, I can't.
suck, and my voice
I
is
suck.
terrible, and I'm the worst.
I self-diagnose constantly. I also self-diagnose other people with unsolicited advice when I hear their voices. I don't
You're
say
just
it out loud,
thinking.
but I'm like talking. I'm like,
Like in
they
your
have
head.
this wrong.
Nodes.
Oh,
Oh
they're
gosh,
doing
I go
this.
through so
nodes.
many like drive-throughs or whatever. And I'm just like, should I tell that person that there's a center that can help them? Like, should I let them know? I'm like,
I do
"Look,
that
they
too.
would really like it." I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything like that.
Yeah. What's your this is a follow-on question for that because I have one as well, and I'll tell you afterwards. What is like the one thing that's like your free piece of advice that you will give anybody and everybody in speech pathology? Because I have one that always lives, and if somebody has this issue, I will tell them, but I'll work it into conversation so delicately so that it doesn't like, so I'm not like telling. Do you have one of those? That's
Wait,
like your
can I
pet
hear
peeve, like
yours
save the
first?
world? Yeah, of course. So mine's about coughing and throat clearing.
Oh, okay.
So I'll always be like, if someone's like, "Oh, I've just had this really nasty cough for a long time," I'm like, just because you've had a cold, you don't have to cough. And they go,
Mhm.
"What?" Like that's like my one speech path thing that I will always offer up to people, regardless of whether they need it or not, because it's just one of those things that like it's the one that I'll do. Do you have one like that? That's like, oh, well, you
Um,
know that if you do you have a thing?
okay. Well, this kind of goes into the myths already, so I don't know if I want to jump the gun,
Jump it.
but I think my
Oh, we can
big
do that.
thing
We'll we'll,
is that
we'll circle we'll circle
yeah,
back
we'll
round.
circle back.
Yeah.
It's like kind of related. Um, but my big thing is that voice rest doesn't work.
Oh, thank God.
Really?
Yes.
It really
Yes.
doesn't for the reason.
It's a component.
Yes,
It's a component.
it's a component.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot
Thank
of
you.
actually great
I
research
love you.
that shows. Oh, I got, girl, I got you. So there's actually a lot of great research. Well, not a lot, but there is very good research.
Yeah.
That shows essentially this group had a bunch of people use their voice really heavily. And then they like split the group up of participants that they had and they like swabbed their vocal folds and they tested them for inflammatory markers. There's a reason
Oh,
that there's when
stunning.
I say there's like good research, but there's not much research, it's because most people don't want anybody to swab their vocal folds. It's not very comfortable.
No, and also what's really hard in speech path for getting research is that it's really hard to get large numbers of cohorts that have the same
Oh.
thing going on for them because voice is so variable.
Exactly.
Have you found that too,
Oh
Megan?
no, 100%. Like you can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
see, I mean, you can even see the same like degree of nodules, let's say, on two different patients, but their voices
Yeah.
will sound completely
Wow.
different.
They'll present
Like, it
completely
doesn't
differently.
matter
Yeah.
because it's how you use your instrument. It's how your body is shaped. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. But yes, please go back to what you were
The
saying
voice
about people
rest?
having their voice bobs and
Oh,
voice
the
rest,
voice
yes, because
rest,
I
yeah.
want to hear this because I'm so on board with this. This is awesome.
So then they had like one group, just full voice rest for, I don't know, like 12 hours or whatever it was until they came back the next day and they reswabbed. And then they had the other group do 5 to 10 minutes, I believe, of gentle exercises like lip trills, like straw, um, like once every hour that they were
Yeah.
awake until they came back the next day. And the group that did just a little bit of exercise had significantly less inflammation than the group
Yeah.
that did full voice rest. And so we equate it to essentially like a cool down versus like
Yeah.
just stopping. Like if you go for a run and then you just like stop and you don't cool down and you have that like lactic acid buildup and you feel like your muscles are really tight. Kind of like that. That's the
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. The only time that I find Ashton will come to you in a moment because your hand is up and
No,
you're
I'm
so
just
excited.
shocked.
The
Okay,
only
keep
time
going.
that I find voice rest is appropriate for a person depends on the caliber and the knowledge of the person taking the voice rest.
True.
So, for example, me, like after podcasts, my voice tends to be a little bit tired because I get too excited. I also have some weird biofeedbacks happening because I've had to turn my monitors down quite a bit because I've got some weird. So I'm probably projecting a little bit heavier, pushing my voice a little bit differently. Da da da. It's also really hot in here. Like I am sweating like crazy. So I'm probably dehydrated. Like all kinds of things, all sorts of stuff happening. I know that after this, I'm not going to do a warm down because I'm aware of how to process my voice later on when I need to, if needed. So voice rest for me, I'm happy to just do it and not do a cool down because I know how to do things later.
Mm. Okay.
What do you think on that?
Might I suggest still doing a cool down?
Yeah. Oh no, I definitely won't do it.
I definitely won't do. I mean, that's their prerogative, right? I can give patients shit to do, and they don't do it. And that's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
But if it,
But it's
works for you-
because
but here's the other thing too. Yeah, if that's working for you, great. Who cares?
Yeah.
So, oh, you asked me actually. I don't think I've fully finished answering like if I ever diagnosed myself. So one of the
Mm.
things that I hate about myself and my vocal folds is that I get like I lose my voice. I don't like fully lose my voice, but I will get that like feeling of inflammation of like my voice is low
Mm.
heavy so
Yeah,
freaking
same.
fast. And
Yeah.
that didn't happen until like a few years ago. So I guess another little tidbit is that voice is super holistic. And personally, I know for me, it's lack of sleep.
Mm.
That's the big thing for me. It's lack
Yeah.
of sleep for me. Sometimes it's lack of hydration, sometimes it's stress levels, sometimes it's your menstrual cycle, right? It's all of these things. Maybe you didn't eat well that day, maybe you have a headache, maybe you're getting over an illness, right? All these things that can contribute. But for me, I know it's sleep. And since I started my career 3 years ago, I don't sleep very well because I was always a person who sleeps in. And now I'm like, have a
Mm.
big adult job and I have to wake up early. And it's a
Oh.
big thing that gets to me that I didn't have when I was younger. And so I have to be more mindful of doing cool downs. So I always do cool downs, especially like if I'm talking like this and my voice feels really tired, or
Mm.
after I finish like a choir rehearsal or singing or voice acting, because I personally know that I need it. And if I were to just stop talking, I would not recover as well the next
Mm.
day.
See,
I don't know if this
I
makes a lot of
know
sense.
that I recover.
Yeah.
So I know that voice rest for me is beneficial, and if I know I need to do something, I will cool down, warm up
Yeah.
if I need to. So, but because I'm aware of my mechanics to such a good degree, I often won't cool down after something like this because I know what will happen later on.
Okay, I have been waiting to sit here and say how shocked I am that you would say like vocal rest is not like 100% the cure for everything, because that's all I've heard for like the past 5 years is, oh, the only thing that actually works is vocal rest. The only thing that actually works is vocal rest.
Myth one debunked.
Yeah, because
Oh, I'm
that's all
so
I've heard.
pleased. I'm so
And
pleased.
I've heard like, oh, like before that, I would heard, yeah, drink tea, drink with honey and like all this other stuff. And so,
What?
and then like, I know
Your face as
I
well.
know
I
that,
just
like,
done.
that's debunked.
Barf.
Like, okay, yeah, if it feels good, that's fine, but it's not helping your voice. Which now that I know
Yeah.
more about your voice,
Nope.
like,
Yeah.
duh, of course it's not. It's not even hitting your vocal folds. Like, it's not even going there. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I remember listening to the podcast in like
yes,
season 1 or maybe season
yeah.
2 about that. Yes, and
Yeah.
I was so proud of all
Oh.
you guys. I was like,
Thank you.
"Woo!" cheering in my
But
car.
after that, it's, oh, the only thing that actually works is vocal rest. And so, like, you saying no, like, is blowing my mind, because I will feel that same feeling of inflammation in my folds. And you can, if you are in tune to your body, I even kind of feel it coming on a little bit
Mhm.
right now, because this is our second episode we've recorded tonight and
Yeah.
we've done a lot of talking. So I can feel it. If I talk for a really long time, I can feel it kind of creeping up. But I don't ever cool down my voice. And that's not even really something I've ever thought about doing. So, what would you suggest a good cool down would be, Megan?
Yeah, so I always do well, I mean, personally, I think it can change for everyone, but overall, doing descending glides,
Okay.
like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like a if you know music a little bit better, I always do like a 5-note scale, like a do 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 do, but on that slow glide lip trill, and I'll start kind of middle voice and just go down to my lowest register, like, and maybe I can't even hit that note, but I'll like kind of stop there, and I'll do
Mhm.
that twice, and then I will just literally sit on one note that feels open and low, because we know when we go to low notes, our vocal folds are super floppy and
Oh.
relaxed, versus high notes, you're really stretched and like, there's a different amount of pressure there, right? And tension. So I would just like in that voice, which is
Mm.
essentially, if you've heard of like straw phonation, is just like rounding my lips as if there was a straw there. I call it my foghorn.
No.
We call it a kazoo.
Or kazoo buzz. I mean, technically people call
Yeah.
it kazoo buzz. I call it my foghorn.
I
No
think
one
kazoo
else
buzzes.
does. It is truly in the research as a kazoo buzz. I call it a foghorn.
Oh, cool. Because I was like, did I miss something?
No,
Or
it's
what?
just me being weird. It's
Yeah,
fine.
because kazoo buzzers are typically your fricatives as well. So you've got like your th, oh, not th, the or the,
Yeah.
the or the. So you've got it buzzing on the front of your lip instead.
Yeah. So you get that
Yeah.
kind of like pressure in the front of your face, but then this like balloon expansion feeling in your cheeks and the back of your throat. Just like open, open, open. And I'll do that for about like, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes till it feels better, it
Mm.
feels more relaxed, and then I'll be quiet. And then I'll
Mm.
drink water, and then I might use, like, my vocal mist, which is a personal nebulizer, which is kinda similar to a steamer. So I get, like, good hydration on the vocal folds, breathing in that
Nice.
steam. And then I'm quiet for, like, an hour,
All right.
depending on how, like, bad
Mm.
it is, right? If it's just like this, where I know I'm talking loudly, I know because 'cause I'm very excited to see you guys. Um, I might do, like, a little cool down and take, like, a 10-minute break to be on my phone, and then I'm gonna go hang out with my fiancé, and probably talk some more. Because I know that that's enough for, like, this level of voice use.
So let me ask you another
Mm.
question then. So when I'm doing like vocal rest, my partner feels very frustrated that like communication has been like cut off. And so I've like downloaded this app on my phone that like I can type in and it'll talk for me. But that's not always as satisfying.
Is it
Yes,
text to
like a
speech?
text to speech. No, not a text to speech app, but like
Oh, yeah,
similar to that. Yeah, like it's a
okay.
text to speech app, but it'll like talk for me. Anyways, it's not the same.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the same level of, like, communication. Does anybody else's partners like, does anybody else have trouble with this?
No.
Okay, no, well,
He's
okay.
like,
No,
"Don't
Cameron
touch, she stopped
actually
talking."
he's like, "Tessa,
Get the other
stop."
thing. It's like, "Shh." Jordan, don't nod on that.
Oh
You
my
just
gosh,
you
Jordan. Hashtag
Well,
rude.
yeah. Okay. It's
Well,
fair. Okay, all
look,
right, all right. I
but
won't nod. I won't nod. I didn't nod. It's just an illusion.
you're not wrong though,
So,
Jordan. You're not
but,
wrong.
like, my partner isn't
I mean, he's here just
Quiet's a
listening to
good
women
thing.
talk, so he's also
he's this is what he has to do.
Quiet is beautiful, man. Silence is a beautiful thing. That's all I'll say.
See, but
My
I
fiancé would
have someone
agree.
who's different,
Yeah.
who's a severe extrovert. Like, he is the most extroverted extrovert I've ever known, and so him,
That
like,
makes sense, right?
not being able to talk to me is very frustrating for him. But, like, if I'm on vocal rest, I'm on vocal
Mm.
rest. So, oh my god, he's gonna listen to this and he's gonna be like, "Vocal rest doesn't work, talk to me." That's what he's gonna say.
I mean, you have to, like so I mean, Cameron actually used to not like it
Mm.
when I did that. Um, I don't know why. Because he's not really extroverted. I don't remember. Maybe I'm gonna have to check in with him. But it was like a weird thing at the beginning of a relationship. Like, what do you mean you're not talking? I just think he didn't like
Mm.
know much about like voice and things like when I needed to do voice rest. He was like, I don't get this. But now that he understands it, so have you guys talked about straw phonation on the podcast
At
before?
at different
Yeah.
points,
At
but
different
definitely
points?
go over it again because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, you take a straw and you put it like an inch into the water, and you literally blow bubbles and hum like, "Ooh," and it helps relax your vocal folds. It's a massage for the vocal folds, same as the kazoo, because it creates this nice back pressure that just opens everything up. And I'm saying that in a really funny way, but it is true. It is research and it's very true. Um,
It's very heavily researched, like, it's one of our
it
things
is
that we're like,
actually
"Yeah,
one
gold
of the
fucking
most
standard."
yes,
Yeah.
incredible.
It's like the most researched thing we have.
Yeah, exactly. So, he will, like, come up to me on days and be like, "Have you done your bubbles today?"
Oh,
Or, like, hear my voice is a little tired, he's
Oh,
like, "I think you should do your bubble."
that
It
is
is really
really
sweet.
sweet.
that's very kind.
Yeah. So now he's on board, but it took a while to get there.
Yeah, he'll maybe maybe he just needs more education. Maybe I should educate him more about why I'm doing vocal rest. Not at the time I'm supposed to
Mm.
be doing vocal rest,
I
but maybe a different time. And then he'll get it.
I I like that. I have a suggestion though, and I wonder how Megan could feature into this as well. Because if that was a thing, what would there be benefit in creating vocal exercises whilst? Because if Ian's like, I want to talk to you, blah, blah, you having functional phrases or functional things that you do inside your speech that would help reset and cool down and warm your voice back up in aid of vocal rest. Megan, do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yes.
So okay, that actually goes into the, um let me start over.
It's like functional voice therapy, right?
Yeah, it's essentially functional voice therapy. When
Yeah.
we do voice rest, the one of the biggest reasons it doesn't work is because people who not Ashton, not Tessa, not me necessarily, right? But, like, people who use their voices to the point, let's say that we're seeing them for consistent
Mm.
voice problems. Like, if you're a
Yeah,
person
right.
who constantly loses your voice, like, very
You're in
easily
clinic
loses
with
your
us.
voice, like, you're in clinic with us, right? It's been
Yeah.
a recurring problem. The problem is the way you're talking, usually,
Yeah.
right? Or something that you're doing. It might not be the way you're talking. That's a little too harsh, right? It might be that you're dehydrated and talking. It might be that you're always talking too loud or too much or over loud noise, right? You're doing certain behaviors that are contributing to the problem. So, great, you do voice rest. Maybe that inflammation goes down a little bit, depending on how long you do it for. But then you go right back to the same patterns. The inflammation is going to come
Mm.
right back. And that's the problem.
Mm.
Why voice rest doesn't work. So, with the functional things, we do a lot of what we call resonant voice therapy. So, do you want to
Yes.
do a little resonant voice therapy on this
Fuck
Yes, let's do
call?
yes.
it.
Okay, we're gonna do it like
Yes.
super duper simply. All right, so
Oh, so great. I
since you're thinking at
love
the same
resonant.
time, or we could take turns, I don't know. But I want you to just like take a gentle breath in and hold out a really gentle M sound. Mm.
Mm.
Beautiful. Do you feel that little
Mhm.
tickle on your lips? This is something we call forward resonance. Okay, so now I want you to purposefully make that super glottal fry.
Okay.
It does sound
Love.
so uncomfortable for any listener, but just for like a second.
Mm.
I love it. I love Tessa's.
Yeah, Jordan's like, "Oh my fuck."
As long as the
Oh
mic
god,
is.
I have to edit this. So where do you feel that when you do that second one? Did you feel it
On the
more in your throat
There's
that time,
definitely more of a buzzing in my throat,
right?
a
Like
little bit
more
also in
pressure,
my
right?
resonators,
Versus the lips.
but more in my throat.
You maybe
Yeah.
did like a little bit up there, but definitely more in your throat, right? So essentially, the idea behind resonant voice therapy is when we make these resonant consonants correctly, that we can do it wrong, right? It's going to help relax the vocal folds in the same way the straw does, actually. It's going to help build that back pressure to open up the space to make them not work as
Mm.
hard. Okay. So we are going to take that really gentle M and we're going to go, my.
You have such a nice voice, Megan. Okay.
Go. Oh, thank
Yeah, I'm ready.
Mm.
I'm ready.
Ashton, are
Okay.
you ready? We're doing this together. Ready?
My,
My,
my, my.
my, my. Megan, can I do it wrong and you can tell me why it's wrong?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I love that.
This is what I would do with people as well, because it's my.
Love it. I see it every day. I see it every day with my patients.
Every day,
So the
every day.
idea of the M is to be like your anchor point. It's to be the
Mm.
thing that reminds you, oh, this is what a good, easy, relaxed voice felt like, and what we call that forward resonance, that vibration at the front of your face. And so, I like falling back into that vocal fry immediately. You lost that placement.
Oh.
So it's a little bit of imagining like the voice is going into that forward space, like is being created at your lips, not in your throat. And doing the repetition of the my helps you refine that M. Because you already did it
Yes.
once. So can you make sure that every time you go back to it, you're still finding that buzziness? My. And sometimes I'll have people sing it on one note because going down in pitch can be a little hard. My. Like that.
Mm.
And
And this is a beautiful thing that Megan's working with, contrastive practice, which we've talked about
yes,
loads.
I
Yeah,
love good contrastive practice.
yeah, and this is what, you're showing us now as well. Would you like to explain that? 'Cause I
Yes.
I think it'll help with part of this, and I just get so excited because my brain is, like, nerding out. I haven't talked to a speech pathologist in ages.
I love using contrasting practice actually for voice acting as well. Essentially, you are you're contrasting two different voices. Hopefully, one that feels good in this case and one that maybe doesn't feel so good, and then picking which one you like better. But I've had coaches, Ashton, you might have actually done this with me without like knowing that you're doing quote unquote contrastive practice, but like being really happy on one take, being
Yeah.
really angry on another take. It's really good to get you out of whatever mindset you're in if you're stuck in like, I need to be happy, I need to be chipper. They want playful and upbeat and like you're talking to a friend and then you just like get stuck. Like, let's do something completely different. So it just breaks that pattern too, kind of gets you out of your head and out of that muscle memory a little bit. So then where we go from there, and we usually do like M and then we go like on vowels and we do words, but we're just going to skip up to like sentences. So my mom makes money. Ashton, I'm
Okay.
going to have you do that one by yourself.
My mom makes money.
Beautiful. And do you feel all those
I
M's
do, but
at your lips?
the very end, like, I always get a little vocal fry at the very end,
Money.
money. I don't know if that's, like, just my California or I'm
So that's
oh,
actually
okay.
supernatural for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, there's like this big thing about vocal fries bad for you, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, that's another myth that we can debunk now.
Yeah,
No,
great. Love
no,
that.
it's not. It's not bad for you. We'll come back to that so we can stick
Okay.
on this for a little bit. But most people go down to vocal fry at the end because you're kind of like at the end of your thought and you kind of let the support go. You kind of let the air go. Air goes, pitch goes, and we kind of
That's
go like
true, yeah.
at the end. And that's really normal. Yeah. But we could go, my mom makes money and keep that voice up and keep it really smooth. Um, so now that you did those beautiful M's, I want you to do a long M at the beginning and then connect all the words
Okay,
together. You don't have to do the long M's for the other one. So, my mom
okay.
makes money.
My mom makes money.
Good. Isn't
It
that so
is. It
relaxing?
actually
Does
feels
that feel
really
good?
nice.
And love. Okay. Also, if you heard the way that she says it is, it also feels really nice. She stayed in that kind of like lower pitch voice. It was really smooth. It was really relaxed. And in a second, we're going to go back up to this really excited voice again. But that's what it is. So if you were like talking to your partner, you don't have to use the ums, but the idea is to like find that space. And you can actually in conversation, if you want to be like showing that you're listening. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would, I think,
Mm-hmm.
be helpful because
Um,
that's all he wants. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
I Yeah, just a little. Yeah, where it's really gentle and you're like kind of doing that little, I guess, warm up that Tessa mentioned for your voice and bringing them together in a healthy way without, okay, now I'm in a full conversation with somebody. Or if then you are talking, can you refine, oh, this is what that feels like. That's that easy resonant voice where things just feel like they're at the front of my face versus like pushing and being in my throat.
Yes, because I don't want to feel that. And sometimes I feel like if I'm trying to do vocal rest and like I have to talk, I don't want to. I feel like I'm almost frustrated. So then I get all tight up in my voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that people tend to like hold everything back because they're like, I'm on voice rest. And then they do like this weird, like whispery
I don't do
thing,
that.
you know, that like I'm a
Yeah.
stage whisper thing. I get you. I get you. I'm with you, you know. So then it just kind of feeds into the discomfort that you're
Mm,
probably already feeling.
that makes sense.
Totally. One of my favorite ones that I do personally, and it doesn't work for everyone. I've suggested that they can do it if they want it because I love the
Mhm.
because it helps set you and it's like a vocal anchor. Like you're like, oh right, this is what I need to be at. My thinking sound when I'm talking to people is a
You
I
do
don't
that.
know.
I've noticed.
So I bubble
Yeah.
trill when I'm thinking. Yeah. So it's a vocal reset. It's something that I've just worked into into my natural speech.
I love
And
that.
initially that was just what I was doing. And then I just thought it was fun. So now I do it all the time. I'm like, I don't know. I'll just I use that as a vocal placement
I love
thing.
that
So
so much.
so if you're real extroverted, like me, you can use that. If you're more introverted, I would suggest that listening
I'm
is
just
really
gonna do
good.
the mm-hmm. Because if I start
Yeah,
doing
sweet.
that, he's
That's
gonna be
fine.
like, okay, this is weirder than you just not talking.
Yeah. Can't make everyone
I know,
happy.
that's probably true. What is one thing, Megan, that you are constantly debunking in the world of voice? Like, what is something people are constantly coming to you with, and they're like, "Hey, like I'm having this problem," or "Hey, this works. Why can't I do this?" Like, what is something you're constantly like telling people to not do besides what we've already talked about,
The
or
to
or
not
whatever,
do
whatever
or
thing?
to
Yeah.
do? Either way? Okay. The voice rest thing is a really big one for me. But the next one would be more so from the client perspective of, when people come to me and they're having problems with their voice and they're like, well, I don't want to talk like this nice,
Mm.
smooth voice and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it kills me. It kills me so much. And I always come back at them because they're like, this isn't my real voice, right? This feels unnatural to me. This doesn't feel like me. And I'm like, well, you've already told me you don't feel like you right now. So we have this option to make your voice better. And if you trust me, I'm going to help you get there, right? Because this also doesn't necessarily, even though I might work on these techniques and like really encourage patients to use that as much as possible. It's really for the purpose of there's something wrong with your vocal folds. There's like, you are here for a medical reason. I'm not a voice
Right.
teacher, right? I'm not helping them discover this interesting new voice or audition for something, right? I'm helping them regain something that they've lost and essentially relaxing the vocal folds and figuring out how to coordinate everything, the breathing and the phonation and the resonance is going to take the pressure off their vocal folds so that they can heal and so they can get back to a dynamic voice quality. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, I'm not telling you again, like, I'm not putting you in a box. This is just something to help you along the way. And if you want your voice back, right? Maybe this is the voice you use when you're talking to other people. And then maybe you go home and you use your other voice, right? But then there's this budgeting. That's my other favorite term in voice therapy is vocal budgeting,
Yes.
right? So the voice rest can kind of play into that. Like if you go to a Taylor Swift concert and you're
Yeah.
screaming your head off, right? You might lose your voice almost immediately, right? But because you've been like yelling, you've been at the extremes, even in a short amount of time, your body can't really handle that. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
spoon theory, but in this case, you've spent all your vocal dollars. Versus like, okay, maybe I could like talk in this relaxed, I call it my therapy voice. I can use my therapy voice all day long and not have any problems, right? So I'm trying to budget when I can use like my really loud voice versus when I can't.
Is there anything we can do to
Yeah.
get more dollars in our budget to get like be able to help our voice like last longer or like give us more time to use it?
See, one of those is healthy voice use, I think in general, and like figuring out what works for you. So the biggest place I think that comes up is in like monster, like video games, like zombies that growl. I've been to a few classes, and to be honest, I'm personally not very good at that realm of voice acting. I want to learn it. I don't think I'll ever be good enough to sit in a booth for 3-4 hours
Yeah.
and do it. And some people can do it, and some people can do it after they've learned how to do it, right? But I've always heard in all those classes that I've taken, Tessa, I think we took a class together too.
Yeah,
on
we
one of
did. It
those.
blew our brains.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
wild,
It
that
was
class.
so fun.
It was incredible.
We were also sending each other like screaming like voice memos back and forth.
Like, I think it's like this. Is it like I don't think my subglottic pressure's enough. Like you and I just absolutely nerded out on that like crazy.
But they always say, like, the teachers was like, well, don't audition for something if you're not going to be able to show up for 4 hours and do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you can only do
100%.
that for your audition, then you can't really do it. And so finding things that are sustainable for you and for your body, I think is number one. Which sometimes you need oftentimes you need a teacher for.
A good teacher. Not just anybody.
A good teacher. Yeah, not just anybody. A good teacher who's very knowledgeable, especially with those specific things. I think the other place would be high-pitched voices. I think oftentimes people try to go, oh, this is actually one of my favorite things. Okay, so oftentimes people try to go just like change their pitch. I work with gender-affirming voice, so I work with patients who are transgender or non-binary, or honestly, people who are cisgender and just feel like their voice doesn't quite match their identity. And we always think about pitch, but really resonance is the thing. And resonance is essentially like acoustics inside the body. So I'll give it a definition. So if we think of acoustics as sound waves bouncing around a church or a bathroom or like your shower, right? Like when you're singing in a shower, the same thing happens in your body. Your vocal folds make a sound wave and it bounces on your throat and your teeth and your cheeks and your tongue and your nose. So if I literally just like plug my nose, my sound is going to be different. And I didn't change anything to my vocal folds or my breathing. I just plug my nose and it forces sound waves to project in a different way, which is super cool physics. Is that physics? I don't really know. I wasn't like a science person. I was like an anatomy. Okay, great. Yeah, that makes sense, right? I thought about going to med school, and then I was like, I'm not gonna take organic chemistry. I'm not gonna pass an MCAT. Like, no.
But Megan, question: how can you change your resonance? Because how can you change that if your skeletal and muscles and body has to stay the same? How can you change your resonance working in the same body you already have?
Change your body.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually gonna do that. We're gonna change our mouth. We're gonna change what we can change for it. So the interesting thing also about resonance is when you change your resonance, it kind of artificially changes pitch to the listener
Oh.
most times. So if I'm going to go from what we call like a really open resonance to a really twangy nasal resonance on let's do ah. Sure, why not? And so to do the really open one, I'm just going to yawn. And to do the twangy one, I'm just going to kind of close my mouth and sort of just put my voice in my nose. So, and I'm going to try to keep the same pitch the entire time.
Yeah. Definitely heard the
And that's it.
difference.
Love it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right? And so I got to work with a voice actress who HIPAA protected, very well known though. And so that was really cool because she also knew her instrument really well. I actually think that's the funnest part whenever I have patients come to me who are singers or voice actors or people who use their voice a lot, like they know their instrument. And so it tends to be just like little fixes. Oh, that makes me think of something else. Okay. There's so many things I want to talk about, guys. But she was working on a like high little girl, like cartoon character voice, and her voice like kept cracking, like up high. And it was really because the pitch was too high. And so it was like talking up here, kind of, I guess. And it like ended up being really falsetto and really tense. And it was like, that's like I could see her throat
Yeah.
muscles like working, doing it, and like kind of like craning up to get it. And I was like, can we just make it more nasal? Because then we can go up here, and then it sounds like pretty much the same, but it has a lot more strength to it. Right?
You also have
First part.
so much
Yeah.
control over your voice and that, like when you're in that high pitch, like when you did your high pitch, you
Yeah.
sounded locked, like you were locked into a way of talking. And then when you did it with resonance, your voice was so much freer. Like there was nuance in words, there was
It
pitch
sounded more
changes, there was
real
movement.
and authentic. Like
yeah,
sounded real. Mm-hmm.
sounded real. Yeah,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so that's
yeah,
where we want to go. It's like figuring out what works for the person, right? So like
yeah.
the high pitch might not work, but like, oh, if we add more twang, it kind of is giving us the same effect. For somebody else, that might be completely different. Somebody else might be able to like just talk at that high pitch because they can, because their vocal folds work that way.
Yeah.
But I certainly can't, and certain people can't. So it's finding those workarounds.
Yeah.
And so I think understanding the anatomy from the speech pathology perspective, that was probably the biggest change in my own work of understanding my voice. Because I was always kind of locked into like breathing and pitch. Resonance opened up so many doors for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, one more question, and we're definitely gonna have you back, Megan. Before we do sounds we can't make, because we are running out of time. But there's so much more we could keep talking about. Like I could keep going on for hours and hours with you. This is like the best. One last rapid fire question. Give me your best tip to keep your voice healthy. Your number one thing you tell people. Yeah, just your number
Oh my
one
gosh.
thing. If you could pick anything and it has to only be one thing, what would you tell them?
This leads to so many things, but I always say you're a vocal athlete, so treat your body like an athlete.
Ooh.
And that means doing the warm-ups, doing the cool downs, taking the breaks, eating well, sleeping right, drinking water. And I know that now has become like 10 different things I've told you or whatever it was. But just saying that, like, if you are serious about the work you do, you're a vocal athlete. It means that you are using your voice at its dynamic, at all of its dynamic capabilities, from high to low, from quiet to loud, from this texture to that texture, whatever it is. And it's a muscle. You're using that muscle like an athlete. So you need to take care of it seriously, the way an athlete would take care of their body.
So good. Thank you for that advice. Megan, you're wonderful. We're gonna do a quick sounds I can't make with you because
I'm so scared for this. I was so excited and so scared for this, guys. I forgot about it. I was like thinking about, that's all I was thinking about before we started this, and then I completely forgot. And nope.
Don't take it too seriously. It's not anything crazy. We're gonna do a quick sounds I can't make before we say ta-ta to you. So Jordan, would you like to tell us a little bit about our sound?
Yeah, so this is another one I found, and I was a big SpongeBob fan
Jordan's
when I
always
was a
mean
kid.
with
No,
these
this is
guys.
good.
Yeah, well, hey,
I've listened to the podcast enough to know he hates all of us.
I don't come up with these, by the way. These are the
That's
first two
true.
that I've
That's
ever
true.
come up with. So if you're
It was me
complaining
in the
about the
early days.
sound, then fair. If you're complaining about my reaction to the way that you guys do the sound, then that might be fair enough. But anyway, this is Squidward, okay? So
Oh
you're
no,
doing
she
Squidward
just
from
hung her head.
SpongeBob. Megan's freaking stoked. You can't hear it, but you can
Okay.
see it if you're watching. She's super stoked about this.
Mm.
So yeah, just a little skit from SpongeBob. I'll hit play, and then you guys will have
Alright.
to try and do it. And I feel you, because when we do this, I'm like, oh shit, I have to do this too, and this sucks.
It's all right, Megan. We'll
yeah.
process you through it. We'll get you to a right
Okay, yeah,
spot.
you need to help me. Yeah, you need to coach. Ashton has to
Well, I
coach.
don't get any help, so. And you're a professional, so no help, no help. All right, you guys see that? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Here you go.
What are those Neanderthals up to? Don't they know I'm busy spoiling myself?
That's it.
What are those Neanderthals?
Are we not allowed to? Are we not allowed to hear it twice?
Can I just
All
hear
right,
it
you
one
can
more
hear
time?
it twice.
Yeah.
How many times? 4.
No, just one more time. Just
No
one more
way,
time.
mate.
Just one more.
Okay, here you go.
What are those Neanderthals up to? Don't they know I'm busy spoiling myself?
One more. Okay, I'll give you one
Yeah.
more.
Neanderthals
Jordan.
up to? Don't they know I'm busy spoiling myself?
Okay.
What are those Neanderthals up to? Let's go with that.
What are those Neanderthals
Short
up
and sweet.
to?
What are
Neanderthals?
What are those
Neanderthals.
Neanderthals up to? Oh, that's so hard. What are those Neanderthals up to? Oh gosh. I
It's
can like
hard.
hear it
How
so
do you
right.
get there?
It's so frustrating to hear it in your
Yeah.
head. And then not be
Wow.
able to
It's
do
like it's almost like an accent. What are those Neanderthals up to? But I can't get the vocal quality.
Wow. Yeah. I want to know where. I wish I could see the voice
Yeah.
actor and like copy their mouth. I want to know like what their mouth is doing.
I did find a
In this
video
moment.
of the voice actor.
Shut
Yeah,
up, really?
I did. Yeah, I found his name. I was like, oh yeah.
What if we had
Yeah.
watched this and I'm like, that doesn't help me at all?
Yeah.
Nothing for me.
It's really unhelpful.
I actually don't. I don't think that this particular vocal position would give you a lot of identifiers. I think it's really internal.
Yeah. I feel like
yeah,
it's soft
'cause
palate related. What are
It's
these
it's really
Neanderthals up
soft
to?
because what I can hear is like the
Oh,
like if you
yeah.
if you prep with a "k," what are those Neanderthals? I can't hold it
Oh.
because I can't quite find that. What are those Neanderthals up to?
You're right.
It's up in that space
Yeah, it
there.
feels
So
like-
if you
What are those Neanderthals up to? No, I can't. I lost it.
so,
I had
so
it
what's
literally
happened
like
there
a
is that
thing.
you've compressed
compressed
everything
too
and gone
much.
into you've pulled
Uh,
that way. So high tongue position, low jaw position. What are those Neanderthals up to?
What are those Neanderthals up to? What
You've
are
gone
those
hyper.
Neanderthals
You've gone
up to?
hyper. It sounds like you've got a cold. You need to open up a little.
What are those Neanderthals up to?
Yeah, it's
A little
closer
bit
in the
less.
right
Oh
spot.
gosh, that's so
And then
hard.
and then you need glottal fry it. Like you almost need it's going to be really hard for us girls. I didn't realize how
Yeah.
rough his texture was. It's going to be hard
What
for
are
us to
those
find that because it needs to be
Neanderthals up
lower.
to?
Ah.
Gosh, I know I fail at this. So, the thing about voice acting is like people always ask you like, "Oh, what accents can you do?" Or like, "Who can you impersonate?" I'm like, "I cannot impersonate shit. I can impersonate me. Like that's it. that's what I'm working with." I'm like, that's why I stick to commercials and like
Can we hear
narration.
Can we hear it one more time, Jordan, and then like
You
do
ask
it
a
like
lot.
straight after?
Yeah, good as. You ask a lot from me. You know that?
I'm so sorry, Jordan. I'm
No,
so
you're not.
sorry.
Is Jordan
No,
gonna
you're
do
not. Here we go. That's all right.
I just want to hear it straight away and then repeat
Mhm.
straight after. I find that easier.
What are those Neanderthals up to?
What are those Neanderthals up to? Yeah, I can't find that position. It's so
What are those
it's really high up
Neanderthals
there.
up to? But it's like it's still too nasally. It's
I
still
like
too
you
nasal.
doing it,
It's not
that's
open
fun.
enough. Yeah.
Wah. It's like a wah.
Yeah, I go too
Aw.
back. I can like feel like my soft palate
Yeah.
raising.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's well in that space. But
Oh,
it still
those
needs to be
Neanderthals
open a
up
little
to.
bit. It
That's
can't
a
be
hard
completely
one.
closed.
Yeah.
Jordan, can you do
So
it?
hard.
Can I do it? The guy's
Yeah.
name's Roger Bumpus.
Roger Bumpus. That's a fun last name.
Yeah. Bumpass, not like bum and piss put
Right.
together. But it was close.
That is what I assumed at first, to
I
be
know.
honest, so
It's a
I
dangerous
appreciate the
last name.
clarification.
Our Kiwi accent's probably butchering it just a
I
little
don't think.
bit.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that's
Probably
just
not
the
Bumpus.
way
said
it
like that
is.
at all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bum pass? Maybe it's bum pass. Roger
All right,
bum
Jordan.
pass.
Your
There we
turn.
go.
Your Squidward. Let's do it.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Yeah, I
Do you wanna
hate
play
this
it-
every
do you wanna
time.
play
It
it
gets me
again?
every time. No.
'Kay.
I'll just try it.
Yeah.
What are you Neanderthals
Why
up
is Jordan
to?
the closest?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
See?
hard, eh?
But I think
Jordan's the
it's a male
closest.
resonance. I think
Yes,
it has to be a
probably.
male resonance. I think you just
And-
naturally need more space
Yeah.
in the back of your throat.
Yeah, because Jordan, I don't know if you can hear this too, Megan. He has a natural resonance that runs across his cheekbones.
Oh, I knew he was gonna get it. Honestly, I knew that he was
Yeah,
gonna be the closest
same.
to it.
Same,
just
same,
by
same.
Speaking voice.
Thought I was miles off, to be honest, but I'll
No,
take it.
so if you just put more like absurdity into it and like word like rah, rah, and like just did it, your voice would hit it much closer than any of ours would, just straight off the bat.
I'm not doing ridiculous. I'm not doing absurdity.
He is our
like
Squidward.
absurdity.
You guys stick with the
You're talented
absurdity.
by absurdity.
Absurdity.
Jordan is the podcast
Wow, that's a hard word.
Squidward. He's like, no absurdity, no joy, stay
Aw.
on task.
He's a
No
funny looking
SpongeBob.
rooster.
That's where I like.
My background's the same color as his. Close enough.
Oh,
Yeah,
cute.
that's
Yeah.
That was really
All right,
fun.
good.
Thank you for finding that for us, Jordan. Megan, thank you for being on the podcast. Let the people know where they can find you if you want to be found. Plug yourself for just a second so everybody knows how they can find you.
Thanks for having me. You can find me at Megan the Singing SLP on Instagram or at my website, meganurbanovoice.com.
Thank you so much, Megan.
that's
If you have any questions for Megan, feel free to send them to her. I'm sure we're going to have her back on the podcast at some point. We have just so much more questions. And hopefully when Deanna can be back, because I'm sure she has all the questions too. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening out there. We appreciate you. If you want to reach out to us, find us at thegoodtalkerspodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram and TikTok or our website. We're all over the place. That's all we have for today, but we will definitely see you or hear you next time. Bye.
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 Bye, guys. See ya.